Nathan Seal. Thank you so much for coming on Inner Edison Podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
No, it's an absolute pleasure.
Where's your microphone at?
It's right underneath me.
Can you pull a little bit closer?
Yeah, sure.
Just getting a slight echo. Sorry, I didn't mean to mess it all up. I should have said it before we started, but I didn't really key in on it at that time. All right, Nathan, I know you. I searched your stuff and looked at a few different things, but we've been talking before we get started. How did you get to Spain? Because I mean, for most people, I've been looking, just back up a little story for me. I'm in California, Modesto, California. I love California. I hate the politics. I know it's going to change, but it's getting to a point where I'm just tired, and I've been looking all over the place. I use ChatGPT, and I've been using AI forever. I'm talking since 22, and I asked it some of the best places to look, and there were some islands outside of Spain that it was supposedly have the same temperature and everything else is like San Diego.
I mean, there's quite a few Spanish islands, really. So you've got the Canary Islands, which are just off of, so they're just off the coast of Africa. So they are Spanish islands, but they're a long way away.
Yeah, 1,000 miles.
Yeah. So, but that's apparently, you'd think it's going to be roasting hot all year round, but we've been there, and actually it's pretty temperate all year round. It seems to be relatively cool in the summer and warm in the winter. So apparently it's quite nice and very cheap.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The other place was Costa Rica, up by the lakes, not by the coast, but by the lakes. I've done exactly what you've done. I basically, whenever we go away on holiday, every single place, no matter where it is, I always turn to my wife and go, can you imagine living here? And I've actually researched Costa Rica because apparently that's a really big location for remote workers and digital nomads who are American. So it's a very popular destination. So I've even looked into that and the cost of living, and I think I've looked everywhere. But getting back to your original question, how I came to Spain in the first place, it's a bit of a strange one. I mean, I actually got turned down for 5 out of my 6 universities because I had I had a disagreement with a teacher. And how the university system in England works is that you get a predicted grade. So they tell you, hey, on this piece of paper that we're going to send to all of the universities, we're going to predict you an A, a B, a C, and each of those has a point grade. And off of that prediction, you have then a number of points. I think I had 24 points, and you needed 24 points to apply for certain degree courses at certain universities. So I chose 5 of the ones that I wanted to go to for 24 points. And when the piece of paper came in, the teacher had given me a grade lower than what he told me he was going to give me. So now, it doesn't matter what my results actually were going to be. I was being predicted 22 points, so I got instantly turned down by all of my preferred universities. And I complained about it. They remarked all my stuff, and actually he'd said I was going to get a C. I got an A, but it was too late. I got turned down by everywhere. So I went to my backup university, and that backup university, which I had no intention of going to, I didn't want to go there. They had an exchange program with a university in Spain. So I was like, well, okay, this is an opportunity that I'm not going to get again. They paid me to go to university in Spain, and I was there for 6 months. Absolutely loved it. It's the best time of my life. And I took a year out from university and ended up being there for nearly 2 years, and then came back, finished my degree course. And then by the time I'd finished that, I was like, I need to find a way to get back to Spain, because that's where the fun is. And England's not fun, but Spain is amazing. So it was all a bit of a fluke. If it hadn't have been that argument I'd got in with the teacher and him trying to punish me somehow, I would never be here. So I was a very happy accident, I suppose. Did you send him a thank you letter?
We had, I organized the, I think it was our 20-year high school reunion, which is like 9 years ago now. And he came. And I'd not seen him in 20 years since I graduated. And I said to him, I want to thank you because I ended up going to this university and this happened. He's like, oh, did I have something to do with that? And I said, yeah, you did. You kind of tried to screw me over. No, that never happened. I'm like, it definitely did. I remember being devastated. It was, when you're 17 years old, that's a big thing when you've got your whole life planned in your mind. And then all of a sudden, nothing that you've done means that you can't do any of it. So it was both the biggest disaster of my life, but also life-changing in such a positive way. I wouldn't be sat here talking to you. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have met my wife. I would have done nothing. I would never have moved to Spain for a start. So
it was fun. It was a fantastic, happy accident.
Well, that's like when I talk about failures on Inner Edison, I want people to talk about, because if you don't, out of failures usually come opportunities. It's just, and that's why it's so important to have failures to get on the other side, figure out how to do certain things. It's the same thing with everything in life. I want to stay on this for a second here. So they don't tell you, they predict that you're going to get a grade. I'm sorry, you said.
Yeah. So you obviously you're going through your 2-year, we call it A levels. I suppose it's the very last thing you do. It's not high school. It's kind of like pre-university. I don't know what you do in America.
Yeah. We have I forget what it's called, but we have the same thing. It's
maybe it's like junior college or something.
AB courses is what we have. So we have junior high, right? And then we have the high school, and then we have college, which you call universities. And there are certain courses you can take in high school to get a better into college, which is the AB courses. They're more like college level, and you get grades for it. But we have to take a test here.
Yeah, we still do all those tests. The thing is, if you get predicted, like I said, if I'd have been predicted 24 points and I end up getting 22 points, I would have still been turned down by all my universities, because they wait for the results to come in. But if you get predicted 22 and the course says you need 24, they don't even have your application on file. It's like you failed before you've even taken the test, so we're not even looking at you anymore. Wow. So you go around to all your teachers and they tell you what they're going to predict, and then you use that information to go apply for the correct university courses. And you base everything off what they say.
Well, you keep using the word predict, and that, to me, that means they're guessing.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose, you've done mock exams, so it's a 2-year course, the A level.
So they know you, is what we're saying. It's not really predicting score. This is what we think your number is going to be from what you've done in the past. It's almost like AI. They're acting as AI.
Well, yeah, you'll do an exam in January, and then the full finished thing for the whole year will be in May. So you've done it in January, and after that, then they go, right, you did really well. You got an A in that one, so we're going to predict you an A in the real thing. Go out and have fun, and good luck. But so it's not like it's not a guess. You've already done a pre-exam to give them an indication of what you're going to be.
Now, is college paid for you guys? University's paid?
Well, it's a funny one. So I was actually the very last year. So I'm 47. So in 1996, I went to university, and that was the very last year that universities were effectively free. So I still tell everybody I paid my way through university. I did, because I had to pay food, accommodation, books and supplies, but the course itself was paid for. So everybody after me had to pay €3,000 or £3,000 a year, and now I think it's £9,000 a year. But before that, it was all entirely free. It's cheap. It's super cheap now. I mean, I have this conversation with Americans all the time, and they say to me we were spending $300,000 on our Ivy League education, and well, you can apply, and as long as you get in, you can apply at Oxford, Cambridge, all the really good universities in England, and they don't cost you that much. And I think the education level is as good as, if not, maybe I'm biased.
No, it's better.
So.
I don't think you need that. So in today's world, I don't think you need that education.
No, I mean, I did it because I was kind of I felt like I was treading water, and I thought, I'm going to do something, but I don't know what it is yet. So education is free. Why not get a degree whilst I can? And it's being paid for.
No, I meant like the Ivy League schools, or
right,
unless you're an attorney, you're going to be a lawyer or something like that. That if you go to Harvard, or if you go to Yale, or if you go to here, you pretty much are set, because they get you set in. It's just like the same. I do another podcast called Helping the Brave, which is for veterans once we take the uniform on. Same thing with officers who retire out of the military. They're pretty much set, because they have people they know. They get them into different places, and that's the same thing with West Point and the Navy Academy and all that stuff.
Yeah, we call it the old boys network. So if you go to a really good university, you will, if you go into Oxford, for example, it's likely that you're in an after school group, or even a class with a future prime minister, or a member of parliament, or industry CEO or something. So you go to those schools, then you will make friends with people who are high rollers, and the education isn't actually that important at the end of the day. It's more those connections that you make.
Yeah. And well, that's how it always is. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
But that's when you're getting into Oxford, Cambridge. If you're going to, a good level school that's, seen as maybe between the top 15 and top 5, that kind of like 5 to 15 level, you don't have that kind of elite level of student. It's just a good education at a very cheap price.
Right. Well, I got my bachelor's and master's because of the Navy. And did I need it? No, but I've learned some stuff from it. But I'm to this day where certain things are. I don't think the average person needs a college education for most of the jobs they're going to do. Most people have learned without it. I'm not saying not to go. I don't think you should spend $300,000 for
No, absolutely not. I mean, I have a degree
nurse, English, doctor.
So yeah, no. When you're getting a qualification like that, that's great. But obviously, I have an English degree, which has helped me because I've written a couple of books, business-based books about entrepreneurialism, as it happens. That helped me doing that. And before that, I was a journalist writing for various magazines, but more in my spare time. It wasn't my full-time job. And I'm great at writing press releases and emails and that kind of thing. But realistically, can you get a job with an English degree? Not really. So, especially not now in a modern world with an AI, with ChatGPT that can correct everything.
Actually, I think so right now, a coding degree is not worth anything. The best, they're saying a liberal arts degree is worth way more money than anything else right now.
Well, I mean, maybe it's more through the experience you get when you're there. I mean, I had a great time at university. Well, I had a great time.
I know, it's just where the world's going right now. You got AI is going to do all the coding. For you. You don't have to learn anything, but you still have to make sure things are written right and certain things. And I just think AI is going to allow you to do so much more faster than you did before. Yeah. And it's going to get to a point where everybody will know so I was all about, I think eventually people are going to want to make sure that it's not written by AI to prove that you know how to write.
Yeah. I mean, AI does a few telltale signs, and the minute I see it, I know that it's AI. I don't even have to read the words. It's just the punctuation is incorrect. When I say incorrect, it's correct, but it's too correct. It's not human. So they throw in a couple of things, and you just go, well, I know who wrote that. Yeah. And they love emojis. I'm making bold lettering here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, well, what I tell it to do is I wrote a book, Financial Freedom, Building Personal Wealth Through Home Ownership. So I dropped my PDF in there and told it to scan it and learn my writing. And only write in my voice. And so it writes in my voice now. So I don't get the same thing that everybody else does. So it's not perfect. And that's what I want. I don't want it perfect.
Yeah. A friend of mine has her AI set to be in a more friendly tone. And she sent me some text and it said, she had a reaction to some medication she'd taken. And it just said something like, yeah, this medication will make you feel, super chill. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like AI. So no, I told my AI to speak to me like a best friend. And I was like, oh, okay. So now everything it tells you is just super colloquial and just like, obviously.
Yeah, and that's how you can get around that. You just tell it to talk like yourself, or like when it would make those phrases that you're talking about and do certain things, I would copy it, drop it back in it, and says, don't ever do this again. Any else I write for, and get rid of it. And then you see it thinking, saving that information, and then it. Yeah.
Well, I've been telling my AI specifically not to use a specific thing of punctuation, and it says it's never going to do it, but then it does it all the time, and I have to re-edit everything it ever does. So sometimes it can learn, but sometimes it can't.
You have to tell it to remember that, and
I do, and I can say, it goes, oh, apologies, Nathan, I will never do this ever again, and then 5 minutes later, there it is.
Well, yeah, I thought you said you're going to never. So I talk to it like it's a person. I said, yeah. Like when I do certain things I'm doing, I'm like, you're not bringing your A game. Why don't you go search the web and get some ideas and research that a little bit more and bring your A game and finish this up. And then it does. It's funny. It's almost, I don't want to say it's like almost like it's doing it on purpose, but it's not, because it's a, language. It's in machine learning language. Go ahead.
I will go and ask it to double check what it's told me. And go say, are you sure about that? Please go double check, triple check it. In fact, I'll come back and I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. And this is actually what I should have said. I was like, okay, I knew something was wrong with the first response, but it is incredibly useful though. There's no denying.
And it does make mistakes adding. So if you're having to add stuff, make sure to re-verify that in, because I do business loans for people and I use bank statements, and instead of adding up all the deposits myself, I just drop the bank statements in there after I edit them and have it add up all the deposits. And I'm like, can you verify your numbers? It was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was off by 20 grand.
Ooh, yeah, you don't want to do that.
All right, well, they fixed it, so not a big deal. It's easier than me doing it, Over a 20-month period, it wasn't so bad, 20 grand, with what I was trying to do. But all right, we're here to talk about Nathan.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Nathan. All right. So since we talked about you use AI and what you write, you've written some books. What's your main thing that you do?
Well, I describe myself as...
Hold on. You said you have multiple things, irons.
Yeah, I've got multiple things. I describe myself as a serial entrepreneur. So I have lots of different things that are maybe in some ways connected and other ways not at all connected, other than the fact that they're, geographically based where I live. So I started working for myself at 27 years old. I opened a bar, and that was a huge success. And from owning that one bar, that's given me absolutely everything else. And at one point I had a hotel, 4 bars, and a cafe. And now, as of this year, I have a concierge company. So we have like 4 hire boats. It's called Ibiza Concierge Company. We're one of the biggest companies here on the island. We have hundreds of guests, a lot of Americans, actually. I just had some, for whatever reason, we're really popular with West Coast Americans. So I get a lot of people from Los Angeles, Seattle, Oregon, even. We get people from all over the West Coast.
Where are you located exactly?
In Ibiza, in Spain.
In Spain, right?
It's the party island of Europe.
The reason I'm asking is because, that's still 12 hours.
Oh, yeah. So what you're one...
I'm not talking about time-wise. I'm just talking about actual travel time.
Oh, yeah, it's a long way.
Yeah. Because I thought maybe you'd go the other way. I was trying to figure out, because when I did the walk in Spain, we did it twice. And one time we flew out of San Francisco, and one time we actually went down to LA to fly out, because it was a better deal going from that way. And it still is a long time on a plane.
It's very long. What we find is people they will come to us, but you can't get a direct flight here from America. So you'd have to fly to Barcelona, have a weekend there, or maybe go to London, have a weekend in London, then fly here. So people kind of like include us in their like 3-4 week European trip, but we are a key part of that trip, and it's because we are the clubbing capital of the world. So with the concierge company, we help people kind of like put together the best version of what their trip could possibly be, hiring boats, booking VIP tables, private chefs, transportation, super villas, that kind of thing. And then like an offshoot from that is me, and there's another 2 of my partners who also have their own concierge companies. We opened up Ibiza International, which is a real estate agency. So I know you're into mortgages and things, so you'll appreciate this. So we use our database of like ultra high net worth individuals who are coming year after year, and we're on hand to sell them as and when they want, multi-million euro villas and apartments. And, that's the kind of thing that we're just pushing into now. That's just a couple of years old. I still have a bar, I still have a club, a nightclub, and we sold a restaurant last year, which was failing. So it was good to get rid. And I have like a property portfolio. So I buy, renovate, and rent. So the idea is that every year I buy something, or maybe a couple of things, renovate them, and then rent them out and keep them forever. And I just bank that rental income, and that's hopefully what's going to be a nice little retirement fund. So yeah, lots of fingers and lots of pies, and it's never the same thing. I'll always look at any business. Like, for example, yesterday I had a meeting with the nursery that my kids used to go to, or kindergarten that my kids used to go to, because it just become for sale. So I know it's a good business. It's got nothing to do with property. It's got nothing to do with renting boats to billionaires, but it's a good business. People always need childcare. So I went in there, and it turns out it's not the right fit for me. But had it been a slightly different setup in there's something I could be a bit more hands-free. I'd have easily bought that. So if something's a good business, I'll take a look at it, and it doesn't have to be
linked. Although if it is linked, it's great, but it doesn't have to.
Right. How's the real estate side?
Prices are through the roof. Sellers are a little bit scarce. Prices seem to keep going up and up and up, but I don't see the buyers are following it. So we had a client that bought something and they put it back on the market within a year at a 20% increase. And we had lots of people look at it, but 20% was too high. But that's what the market was saying that it should be. In the end, it sold for a 10% increase after only 18 months, which is, quite healthy. So the prices are going up, but I think people are asking for too much.
Was that a multi-million-dollar one, or was that just
No, that was something relatively cheap. It was a 3-bedroom apartment, but in the marina, so not overly expensive, really. We've got some really expensive property. I think the third most expensive property on the island is one that we have listed right now. It's 35 million. We actually there's a private island that if you really wanted it, it's not officially for sale, but if you wanted it, that's I think 120 million. So there's some really spectacular places available. But they're not, you don't put them on the market and they sell within, a week or two. These are big projects that require due diligence and lawyers and architects and this kind of thing. And it could be months and months and months before, someone looks around to actually finally putting an offer in. So they're slow burners, and I'm sure everything we've got will sell eventually, but it's finding the right buyer and finding the right price. But I do feel like Ibiza's a little bit too expensive. We've got a bit of a crisis at the moment with, I wouldn't say it's homeless. It's more, people who are living in caravans and, the wages are not high here. So if you find a 3-bedroom apartment, you're looking at probably even a cheap one is going to be the same price, if not more than what you will earn in a month as a waiter or, working behind a bar. The kind of jobs that the island needs, because we're a hospitality stronghold. If you don't have people who can serve you drinks and there's nowhere for them to live, then you don't have a business. So there's a lot of people living in these camps, which are not attractive. We don't really feel like this is the island that should happen. It certainly wasn't there for 25 years ago, but then the island government aren't doing anything about affordable social housing, which I think has to be something that we bring in. But I don't know whether there's much appetite to do it.
Yeah, well, that's the same problem we have in all the big cities that we have, and even in here, Modesto. Where I am, a small little town, it's, average cost of a house is $500,000. For most, most people can't afford that.
Well, the cheapest thing that I have for sale now is a 35-meter square studio without a sea view. There's nothing special about it, and it's 270,000 euros, which I think is over $300,000. And that's pretty much the cheapest thing in Ibiza. And that's still, we show it around, but it hasn't sold yet because it's still overpriced. And that is, he knows he's the cheapest thing in Ibiza, so someone's going to buy it. And that's unfortunately just the way that the market's going. Right. But nobody that works here can afford to buy that.
Right. And so that's the whole, I think. So one of the things that I didn't mean to bring up real estate, but you brought it up, but one of the things you do as a business. Yeah. So when we in California, they were so happy that they increased the minimum wage to $20 an hour.
I follow the American news. I remember that.
Okay. Well, in the first 6 months, we lost 18,000 jobs.
Yeah. It's
that was the first 6 months, not a year and a half. In the first 6 months is all, and they stopped counting. They lost so many jobs.
Yeah. I believe that those jobs will come back once, more like if America can adjust to not operating on a tip basis, then they have to come back at some point. But I think the tipping culture has got out of hand. We were in Miami last year, and my children had brought these tiny little suitcases just with their toys in it, because they're 3 and 6. And by the time the trip was over, we'd bought a few souvenirs and their bags weren't big enough. So my wife was saying, okay, we need to buy some new bags. So we were in Miami Beach. We went to a store. She picked out a couple of suitcases. I stood outside waiting with the kids, and she came out with these 2 new suitcases. And she's like, it was crazy. Like the card machine that I paid with, it asked me if I wanted a tip, and I couldn't not tip. It said 18, 20, and 25% tip. And I was like, what, to to buy a suitcase. It's like, it's a suitcase shop. You just walk in, buy a suitcase, walk out. But they'd had it set up so you had to tip them. And obviously, I know there's a no tip button at the bottom, but she didn't see it. So she tipped them 18% to buy a suitcase. I mean, that's not service industry. You're not getting good service. You're just buying something in a shop. So tipping culture has gone crazy, and we don't do that here. But wages are low, and unfortunately, because Ibiza is a very expensive island to live on, it's creating that disparity. But elsewhere in Spain, you can work in a bar and you can afford to buy where you live, and it's you can have a good standard of living.
Is that just because it's cheaper in those other areas?
Absolutely. I buy a lot of properties in the mainland, and that's why I rent. The return on investment is much better than here in Ibiza. So you can buy a 3-bedroom apartment for 50,000-60,000 euros, and you can rent that out for 600 a month. So you can make good money on rentals there.
So with all your businesses you're talking about, would you say the real estate stuff is best?
It has the potential to be best because when you sell something and it sells big, there's a really good commission in it, but it's unreliable because, you might make, when you're talking these huge properties, you might only sell a couple of those a year, but that's enough to do you for the year. But it might be that you go 6 or 9 months without making anything, and you've still got all your overheads, all your staffing costs and everything.
I was talking more about your rentals.
Oh, rentals. Yeah. I mean, that's good, steady income. It is good. Yeah. It's just that goes into one account, and that's the account that I live off. And then all my earnings go into another account, and that's what I save up to then buy more property. I'm a very frugal person. I don't, if I won Euromins, if I won the lottery, the big state lottery, and I won 100 million, I don't think my life would change that much. I'd probably just go and spend it more in things I've always wanted to do. Like I'd like to build a block of apartments to then sell. I like to challenge myself and test myself with business. But I wouldn't be buying, a Ferrari and some super villa with an indoor swimming pool and things like that. I think I'd get a bit bored of that. So it's always about business.
Well, you don't want to win that because 80% of the people who win that go bankrupt anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think would be the challenge. I watch those videos about people doing that, and what the decisions they make are just crazy.
Yeah, well, most of them who do go bankrupt, they didn't win that much, but they live like they won that much. Yeah.
Well, they don't understand how taxes work. So, if you start spending stuff, at some point, the taxman's going to come and get some of your money from you. And if you buy this huge villa, yeah, fair enough. You buy a small apartment or a house, the overheads are so small, you don't even notice that you're paying them. But you buy a big villa, it could be 200,000-300,000 a year just on maintenance, and you don't see that. And obviously, if you've got no income, you've just got this big lump sum. Unless you've got investments that turn that into an income, then you're just going to lose your money. So, yeah, I think it'd be. Hey, who wouldn't like to win the lottery and see if you could be one of the ones that makes it?
Yeah, but you got to buy the ticket first, right?
Yeah, every now and again I buy one.
Yeah, so do I. I wait till it gets really big and then I buy one or two. Yeah.
I always joke that I buy one every week because my mum and dad buy one, and obviously I'm next of kin. So they buy, I think, 2 tickets every week, and I go, well, okay, well, it feels like I've taken part because at some point that's probably going to make its way down to me. So maybe I'm part of it.
If they ever get it. All right. So we were the show's about failures. We didn't get into it, but what, because you sold your restaurant that wasn't doing well, is that something because of the economy?
It was just maybe a change of how people operate here in Ibiza. So before COVID, everything was great. After COVID, just changing landscape, changing, like, people were eating at home a lot more often. So a restaurant was huge overheads. But the real failure that, like, when I first applied for the show, the one that really stuck out was the cafe that I think I mentioned earlier. I bought into a cafe. Well, I opened a cafe, and this was something I learned a big lesson that day, because I normally go into business not necessarily on my own. I like to go in with partners, but I'm the driving force behind it, and I'm the one that makes the decisions, or at least I'm involved in the decisions. And this was something where one of my previous partners from another business said, hey, I really want to open up a cafe, like a Starbucks style cafe. There's nothing like that in Ibiza. So we don't have Starbucks here. So he's like, I want to open up a Starbucks cafe. It's going to go amazing. trust me, I know my coffee, it's going to be brilliant. Now, I don't drink coffee, so I'm not in that demographic. I don't understand that business. I'm never going to be the customer. So for that reason, I should have said no. And I've always learned that if I don't see a reason why I would pay it, I don't necessarily understand why other people are going to pay the price. So what we naively went in on was this big Starbucks style coffee shop selling coffees for, $5 and squirty creams and all the extras and the syrups in them and all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't know anything.
I was going to say, you can tell you don't drink coffee.
Yeah. So
I drink coffee all the time, but I make it at home.
Yeah.
So do Starbucks, but that's just too expensive. And once you figure out a way that you can do it at home, and back to your whole thing, ever since the pandemic, we don't eat out as much as we used to. And now it's so, California is, you can't even get a normal meal for less than $120 now.
Well, what happened was the first day of being open, the morning shift came in. Like, we'd done a great promo. I'm quite good at marketing, so we'd got this place full, and every chair, every table's full, and I'm going, we're on to a winner. This is fantastic. When the morning rush cleared out, I went to the till and I checked what was in. It was 400 euros, and I was like, we can't make money doing this. And I found out why. It's because, you can have your €5 coffee, but Spanish people don't drink that. They'll have a €1 espresso, and they'll sit there and they'll nurse it for an hour or two and chat with their friends. And when the bill comes, it's €7. And you go, well, I've just wasted a whole table for an hour on a bill of €7. And then the next group's going to do something similar. Before you know it, you're full, but no one's spending any real money. And that's just Spanish cafe culture. And we'd spend all this money and branding and everything going in on these, expecting to sell these big expensive coffees. It just did not work. And, we tried our hardest. We tried to rebrand, bring in another partner, do different things with food. And eventually after 2 years, we lost everything that we put in. And we just eventually just gave the keys back. And so it was a big eye opener for me, because everything up to that point had been a success, a greater or lesser extent had been a success. And then that was a kick in the teeth. And it was because I'd gone into something, trusting somebody else's judgment. And he's my bestest, oldest friend, and I trust him about everything. But about a coffee shop, we got it wrong. And I can't really blame him, because, Starbucks works everywhere. Why wouldn't it work here? Well, it doesn't work here because Spanish people like their €1 coffees and sit and drink and nurse, and they don't spend any real money. So it was a mistake. It was a real mistake. But, now if I go into anything, I have to have the mindset that I am the customer, and I know what the customer wants, and I have to understand what they want. And if I understand what they want, I can sell to them. And I can make my business streamlined in such a way that I can provide the best service for the low cost. And that's how you make a success. So it was really important to fail at one time, but I'd rather have the money in my pocket than have failed. But it is what it is.
Yeah, but you learned going forward how to make decisions. That's I know it was expensive learning, but you learned from it. When I did the Camino de Santiago, the best part I enjoyed was in Spain, because the coffee in Spain was just really good. And it was not just like you said, it's just, it was just coffee with milk.
Yeah. 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 It's super high quality. I mean, a lot of it's imported. I remember they were importing beans from Colombia. They got other ones from, I think, Costa Rica, maybe. And you could choose where the beans came from. And that was something we tried. And we chose ones that came from a different location than everybody else got. We tried to make this big publicity of, hey, we've got beans from Colombia. We're the only place with beans from Colombia, thinking that people would go, oh, that's interesting. Let's try that. They weren't interested. But, again, it's something you try because you think you know what people want. But
that goes to knowing your audience,
knowing your audience. Yeah. There is a good coffee shop that's just opened up in town, and they do this thing called cold brew. And I don't know what that is, clearly, or whatever they do. Yeah, but they
But no, it's like, I think they do something behind the scenes. Yeah, cold press. Cold press, that's it, cold press. And whatever they do, people go crazy over it. So yeah, had we done that, maybe we'd have a successful coffee shop. But the guys that own that are super enthusiastic about coffee, and you can just tell. So no, you have to be enthusiastic about what you're trying to sell. I can't sell something to somebody if I don't like it myself.
You have to enjoy it. You have to use it. You can't sell. You can't. You just yeah. But the cold press stuff has just recently come to fame in the last few years. Before that, nobody really knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't think I had a swig of one cup of coffee, thinking it was a cup of tea, when I was maybe 17 years old, and spat it straight out. I was like, "What the hell is this? This is disgusting." I've never tried it since.
Yeah, but where was that at? That
was in England. That was in out of a thermos flask in a mechanic's shop.
Yeah, that's like my dad's coffee when I was in the middle of nowhere and I was almost froze my feet off. So he made me drink a Sanka, which is instant coffee. Oh my God, I could never touch coffee.
Oh again. Yeah, this will have been Nescafe granules, just with some boiling water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This stuff is disgusting, but really good brewed coffee with the right. So, and in Spain, I can drink the milk. I can't drink milk here in the United States.
Really, because the milk here is ultra heat treated milk. It's not fresh, so we buy it warm on the shelf, and you don't put it in the fridge until you open it. I made the mistake. This is a few years ago now. I made a mistake thinking that because it was ultra heat treated and it came off the shelf and it's got a shelf life of, a year and a half or whatever when you buy it, that even after opening, if it's been in the fridge, I assumed that it would be safe to drink. So I went away on holiday and I came back 2 months later and I smelled this open. It was the only thing in my fridge and I wanted to have some cereal or something. I arrived late back. I smelled it, smelled fine. I tasted a little bit, tasted fine. So I made a bowl of cereal with it. It tasted fine. Everything was perfectly fine until the middle of the night when I woke up with violent stomach cramps because maybe the bacteria was different, but it was very much off milk that I just ingested. But it's very different. So I don't think you'd really like it. Like the fresh milk over here is always full fat, really good, thick, high quality milk. But the stuff on the shelves is really bland.
I'm just talking the ones that they give you with your coffee, whatever that is.
Oh yeah, they'll have that in the little jug that they give you next.
No, actually, the coffee I got, they poured it. It was like a latte. They poured it in there. Yeah. So
that'll be ultra heat treated milk because they all use the same. It's always out of a cardboard carton off the shelf. They just boil it up and make it look good, make it fancy.
Is that what they just mix it up?
Yeah.
Nathan, anything else you want to go and get into today that I didn't ask you? Because you talked about you had a couple books that you wrote. Is there anything?
Yeah. So, obviously, I've had so many jobs over the years. I've given so many interviews, as in for people applying for jobs with me. Everything from bar staff and dancers all the way up to sales staff and management roles. So, whilst I was on holiday last year, I had this bit of a brainwave. I don't sleep very much. I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I will sleep maybe 5-6 hours a night. And when we're on holiday and sharing a room with my whole family, and my kids sleep for 12 hours, my wife sleeps for 10 hours, so I'm there twiddling my thumbs. And for whatever reason, I just started thinking I should write a book. And I'd been doing some speeches or some presentations to an MBA course talking about interview techniques and that kind of thing. And I just took all my notes and I turned them into a couple of books. So I've got one was the Entrepreneur's Playbook, and that's about life of being a serial entrepreneur. And then the other one is called Hire Smarter, and that's just about how to. It's basically from a interviewer and an interviewee point of view, talking about how to get the most out of interview experience, how to answer the right questions, how to ask the right questions. Everything from sell me this pen, and all the different ways of asking the right question to get the right answer. And, so I made a series of books about it called Professional Playbooks. And I don't quite know how. I mean, it's a very niche market, but I think of the books I've written, 3 of them went number 1 in Amazon in their category in the first couple of weeks. And they're still going pretty well. So if you look me up, Nathan Seal, Professional Playbooks on Amazon, and I'm sure we've got something that if you're a business owner or somebody that's interviewing people or looking for staff, or you're looking for a job, I've probably got a book for you.
So yeah, that's about it.
I'll check out your books. I would ask you to send me one signed, but that's kind of far for you. I ask every author I have on to send me one.
I'll send you the ebooks. I've got those.
That won't be signed. No, I always like to have the author's signed book in my little thing on bookshelf over there. That's just my thing. But next time you're in the United States, you can drop it in the mail for me.
Hey, I'm going to be, we're going on holiday at Christmas. We're coming to Miami, going on a Caribbean cruise, bringing my parents as well and the family. So if I've got space in the suitcase, I'll bring a copy, I'll sign it, and I'll send it from Miami at Christmas.
That works. If you remember, if you don't, it's okay. I understand. Okay. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the show. How do people find you?
Professionalplaybooks.com and basically on LinkedIn. I'm pretty proactive on LinkedIn. So if there's anybody that wants to reach out and think there's something that I've got to offer here on this corner of the island, this corner of the world, in Ibiza, the concierge and any property information that they might need for Ibiza or Spain in general, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, I might be hitting you up if I come back.
Yeah, more than welcome.
Yeah, because I've been trying to get my wife to do the Camino again, but I want to do it on a bike this time. Last time we walked,
isn't that cheating?
Horse, huh?
Isn't that cheating?
No, you can do it on a bicycle, or you can do it walking, or you can do it on a horse. Those are the 3 different ways you can do it.
Oh wow! I think it'd be really cool to do it on a horse, but I've never ridden on a pony on a beach. I don't think it counts.
No, it doesn't. I did it on a horse. So we walked it, but up Osobrero, we took a horse up that, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, those are some really big horses. I look small, and I'm 6'2" and
You're 6'2", wow.
255 pounds. Wow. So I was a pretty big guy. And my daughter's like, I've never seen anything make Dad look small. Some big horses.
Oh yeah, obviously I've listened to some of your stuff, and you're a veteran as well.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, thank you for your service, because obviously it's a global thing. My family are all from RAF background, and I was actually in the University Air Squadron, so I was planning to be a pilot when I went to university. Wow. And now my eyesight failed me. I had my eyes lasered, so I was actually flying planes and in the RAF for 15 months before my eyesight failed me. And they said, you've got a choice. You can either not be a pilot, or you can leave. So I could have got a job as an education officer, an intelligence officer, or air traffic control or something like that. And I realized the only reason I was doing it was to be a pilot. And I flew solo. I've flown in Germany and Holland and the UK. So I'd done a fair bit of the things that I really wanted to do on my bucket list. So that's when I came out and I came to Spain. So
did you keep flying at all?
No, not at all. It's a very expensive pastime, and
yes, it is. Yeah, I know a bunch of buddies I know have planes, and it's like, 1, it's too expensive, and 2, I'd probably crash it.
Yeah, I mean, I crashed a couple of times. Well, not crashed. I thought I felt like crashed, but my teacher seemed to think I did well. So he was in the air traffic control tower, and I was coming down. I did a really heavy engineless. You turn the engine off. You're mimicking as if you've had an engine failure, and you're coming really steep. And I came in really steep, and I didn't touch the ground, and I started to go back up again. And obviously, I'm about to stall that plane, and I put the engine on full power, and I banged down really loud. I thought the engine was, the wheels were going to crash through the wings and through the engine. And I took off again. I'm thinking, I'm going to get my ass handed to me by my instructor as soon as I get out. And he says, oh, how do you think that went? I was like, well, it's a bit of a rough land. He's like, no, you did fine. I was like, he must have blinked. He must have looked away. I've been drinking a coffee and not seen that, because I thought I was going to die. So maybe it wasn't to be that I was going to be a pilot. So, but anyway, thank you for your service.
Thank you. And thank you for yours. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate spending the time with you and telling your story.
No problem. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.